Has the makeup artist come yet?
She has this day off. And I think we're about live. Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Anthony, and I run developer programs and mostly events for Leap Motion. Twitch is one of the things that I do. I've often stayed away from the camera, but because my good buddy Matt's here, I decided to take one for the team and actually talk to Matt like a real person. Hi, Matt.
Hey.
And so this is Matt Tytel. Matt Tytel, you can tell me who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm a developer. I kind of focus on music software a lot, and I do a lot of physics also. And so what I used to work at Leap Motion actually, and what I was working on was a lot of physics kind of simulations or like physical models that you could interact with, like flowers. You could take the petals off of, and I tried to experiment with controlling synthesizers. So that's kind of what I focus on. That's who I am in my work life, but I think that's what we're focusing on, so I won't include my personal.
So what have you built for Leap Motion that people might recognize you for?
So I built the Playground app for our V2 launch, or your Leap Motion's V2 launch. So when you download our V2 software, the first thing that we say to run is Playground, and it takes you through like waving your hands around, and then you pick up these blocks and you put together robots, and then there's a bunch of like a couple random scenes that we kind of threw together. And
why don't you just show them, Matt?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I guess I could just show you. I hope a lot of you have used it if you know anything about Leap Motion. So you guys know what I'm going to be talking about, but I'd like to talk a little bit about the development of it. I guess because they're kind of simple scenes, but people may not realize all the details that go into it, and so I'm just going to point out a lot of the details and a lot of the decisions that were made along the way, either consciously or just subconsciously, or that they just happened. Okay, so I want to show you first a prototype of one of the scenes, the robots. So yeah, I'll just this is a really early. Robots. Okay, this is a really early demo version of Playground.
Okay. And it uses Unity, I see.
Yeah. So it's been developed in Unity. So it's kind of rough. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay. So and this is one of the early hands that I worked on. It was just a really minimal torus and I think stretched out capsules or something. Basically, I didn't do any modeling at all, because that's not something I have a lot of experience in. And these robots are just made out of geometric shapes. So, but I made these little. So Unity allows you to make these joints and like apply physics to different things. And so I made these little guys that they're like monowheel robots. So like you push and they stay upright. And it's all done through physics.
Where did this idea come from?
Okay, so I really wanted to make actual being, like more complicated structures. I wanted to make a bird or a chicken or something that walked around, and I started thinking about it. And it's really complicated to program that with physics. You can animate something and have it look like it's walking around, but actually physically walk around, it's really difficult. So I just started out with these wheeled robots, and it's kind of cool because they don't really. They're kind of different, So the limitation of physics kind of gave me a new creature that doesn't really exist.
For the Unity developers out there, how long would you say is it to build this scene? Like it took you?
So I prototyped the robot in about a full day. So I made the little robot structure and like some really crappy logic to like make him try and stay upright. And a lot of it after that was tuning like how much force goes into keeping him upright and how much friction there is.
And that cast shadow is really nice. The cast shadows are really nice too.
Thanks. Oh yeah. And so the hand I already had programmed, and so the physics of the hand was something I worked on for a long time. So moving rigid bodies around. I can't show you right now, but each finger is made up of three blocks that I'm just that are invisible.
Okay.
That we move around and we can touch these guys. And so that was something I spent a lot of time on before this. And then the robot itself was a day, and then tweaking the colors and just the
And it's just a simple scene, but there's so much going on, and you can interact with so many different things so seamlessly.
Yeah. So I mean, it offers a lot of physics and a lot of touching, and I like patting a bunch of them on the head. It feels like.
And you can use two hands with this.
Yeah,
right?
it almost feels kind of like there's.
Whoa.
It feels spongy. I don't know.
And it's almost like this idea of phantom, almost haptics.
Yeah, it's definitely phantom haptic. It's like when you go like this, you feel like it's pushing you to pull your hand back up. And if I hit them hard enough, the heads will fall off. But so this is like an early prototype to Playground. I didn't really know it was going to be Playground at the time. I was just making some dumb things.
So then, how did this progress to what people would know as Playground?
Yeah. So and pretty much immediately, people tried to pick these guys up, and it's not something I wrote in. And since these are just box gliders, it's really hard to pick these up, and so people would squish it and get upset because they
You'd go through the hand or fall.
Yeah, they would end up killing all the robots and not being able to pick any of them up. So I programmed some grabbing based off another developer's work here, who was working on a lot of interaction stuff. I programmed a way to pick things up, and I can show you another demo that shows some early grabbing before we actually get into the details of Playground itself.
Yeah. Please do.
Okay, so this one is almost one of the first ones I ever made actually, at Leap Motion, and I really like showing this one because it's really goofy. And okay, so it's a bunch of rag. If you've seen me talk before, I always show this one because.
Is it your favorite?
It's probably one of my favorites, just because ragdolls are really fun to play with. So obviously this is a ragdoll simulation. I just took the ragdolls from one of Unity's Unity assets. One's they release. I think it's from the third-person shooter thing that they have. But I just took the ragdoll and I put a bunch of them in a room, and then I programmed this really simple grabbing mechanism so I can pick these guys up. And it still has the physics from before.
Are the bodies are from Unity, right? They're just in part of the asset store. You can get those.
Yeah, they're the third-person shooter ones. Third-person shooter Unity assets. I think it's made by Unity. And so I just took that, and so you can grab any joint. So I can grab this guy's foot, or I can grab his arm. So you can pick them up by different things, and then throw them through the robot's mouth. Dumb stuff like that. So this is early grabbing.
And so when you're throwing him in the mouth, what are you accomplishing with this thing? I mean, obviously the hard eyes, at least to me as not a design person, symbolize happiness. So you're feeding this creature.
Yeah, it's
in the attempts to do what?
It's like a Tamagotchi you're taking care of. A huge giant Tamagotchi.
So we went from soft, spongy robots to feeding something with sharp edges and jags.
I mean, if you could think of taking care of a pet.
With humans.
Yeah, with humans. It's actually kind of like if you play Black and White. It's really similar. You have your pet that you're taking care of, and you're God creature, and you
That's a great game.
Yeah, you could throw around your minions. I really wanted to have them run around, but that's really hard to program.
So that would be if you were to take it a step further, it would be them running away from you, kind of thing.
Yeah, so it'd be a.
That would seem hard to program, right?
Yeah, definitely. I know we'd have to do some really. If you wanted to do it look physical, you'd have to do some crazy stuff. I think Natural Motion does some crazy things, with they did. What was the?
I love that your hand is still being shot.
Clumsy. They did Clumsy Ninja, and so you can poke. It's for iOS, and you poke him, and he falls over, and it's very reactive. So it needs something like that, some sort of engine like that to.
And I noticed when you pinched, they retracted to you.
Yeah, so it's it's just a way of kind of assuming what you want to do. So there's a little radius that allows you to So since I'm not like actually pinching him, but if I pinch close to him, it'll grab the closest string. Yeah,
That's really cool.
And grab his butt. It's a little gruesome, but I think it's also it's not. Some people would say it's violent, but I think it's just silly.
I mean, violent, I think it's more silly. I would agree. Like, the design of it is so simple, and it plays into like kind of this playfulness.
Yeah.
That it's just like, if they were moving, it'd be a little more gruesome.
Yeah.
The fact that they're
not like actual
dummies really plays well with that. So you went from the robots to this.
Yeah.
And this seems like a more realistic demo. Like, did you just want to try like kind of utilizing different tools, or was it just something? Because it seems a little this one seems more out of character than like the other ones I've seen you do.
Yeah, this one I just used what I had available. So this ragdoll was available, and then programming the pinch was like pretty simple, and so that was an easy ragdoll thrower, and then I just went from there. So that was just this is actually one of the first things I made in Unity at all. I hadn't programmed in Unity before I started at Leap Motion.
Really?
Yeah. So I just downloaded a bunch of assets. And this is one of them, and then I used, there's another developer here who's doing some hand stuff, and so I used some hit assets and I combined them together, and then I made this. So this is like, this is my like learning Unity app. So it took me a little while, but it was really fun to make. So I just kind of went with the flow, which is why it's maybe not similar to...
For new people, just so you know, this is the Leap Motion controller. So what you can't see because Matt's screen is blocking it, is how he's manipulating this.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to interact with.
And I can do it too.
Yeah.
I guess to admit that I'm really satisfied every time the hard eyes come.
Yeah. Okay, so now I can talk about Playground, if that's okay. Let's see. It's also called Leap Motion Orientation. Let me make this run at a better resolution.
Nice.
That's fine. Okay.
Also have some nice sound effects.
Yes. Made by Jack. I think Menhorn is his last name. I'm not mispronouncing it.
He did.
It's really good sound.
He did something else for us, didn't he?
He does a lot of audio for us. Like, he did all the audio for Playground. Did a lot of the audio for the old orientation. I'm trying to think what else he does. I know he does a lot of game audio and game development, so I really like his stuff.
Whoa. So
this is the orientation. So this is like, let me turn on the volume a little bit. This is just to get you oriented with Leap Motion. So there's 3 scenes, and the first scene is just like, look, sparkly hands, it's magic. And so
he says so flippantly.
Well, I'm really kind of tired of this scene. I spent so long on this scene. I don't even know why.
Really?
Yeah. Well, just like
It's beautiful though.
Just to make it look really nice.
And those are different Unity hand assets, right?
Yeah. This is what did you say?
Those are different. That's a different hand than we saw before.
It's the same hand. It's a different hand than both of them. So this was developed by a modeler that we hired. His name escapes me now since it's been so long, but he also does good work. So okay, I'm just gonna skip to the actual robot scene because that's really where I spent my time. Okay, so that ghost hand that comes in, it does it really quickly. I wish I had programmed that a little bit better, but it just shows you like, oh, you're supposed to pinch.
And then you have the words on top. I mean,
and then the words on top. Yeah, so basically that ghost hand came in, pinched a block, and went like this, and then threw it down. And so the entire everything is just based on that gesture of pinching, and it's something that's really important when you're doing development for an application. Is to base everything around 1 or 2, or just like minimize the number of gestures that you can do. Because the more gestures you can do, the more complex it gets, and especially if it's a new interface that people aren't familiar with, like having 1 or 2 gestures that you can do is really important.
Do you feel like limiting people just like helps them guide them almost more thoroughly through the app? Is this like because you're limiting like gestures?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when people were learning the mouse, they were just like they learned click and then click and drag. That was it.
Oh wow.
And they were just like I think it's people talked about Solitaire coming out to teach people how to navigate dragging and dropping.
Yeah.
Just to teach people that. And so that's the only gesture was like dragging and dropping and just clicking. So
it's interesting because it's just like even just being from a Windows to a Mac perspective, the fact of the right click and like how much sometimes I get a phantom right click and I'm like, wait, no, that's wrong. That doesn't exist. What am I doing? But you're right. So by limiting gestures in this application, you kind of feel like it gives people more of a better experience.
Yeah, it's because this app is really designed to be the first thing people see.
So that would mean that they're fresh or new to this kind of interface. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to just show them one thing and have them master it. I mean, I do have the physics in there, so they have the freedom to like hit things.
Was there always a conscious decision of the hand going through the floor? It seems like it runs through a lot of your demos.
Yeah, the hand going through the floor is like actually a really interesting problem. A lot of people don't want the hand to go through the floor, but I mean, your hand in real space doesn't have any there's no floor in real space, so your hand actually doesn't stop here. So it's just to map your hand with the actual. It's just a one-to-one direct map. So if you go through the floor, you know, it makes sense for the virtual hand to go through the floor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then it offers you like ability to like scoop up things easier. I kind of like it. So, but there's a lot of design that goes into making it look good. So I'd like to point out a lot of the details actually right now.
Go ahead.
Because this scene has so many things in it that...
Would you call them Easter eggs?
No, these are like design details.
Okay.
That are pretty important when developing an app like this. So one of the things you might notice is that the floor is reflective.
Mm-hmm.
It's very... I don't know if you can actually see it on there.
You can.
So the block has a little reflection here, and the hand has a little reflection. And so what that gives you is how far I am from the floor. If the hand is close to the reflection, then you're close to the floor. If your hand is above the reflection, like way far from the reflection, then you're way up high.
And shadow does that as well, right?
Yeah, so that's the other thing, is that there's also shadows. So it's like a type of triangulation. There's a shadow and a reflection, and so there's both shadow and reflection. You can kind of tell where you are in 3D space.
So when designing what do you think of the top things when designing like an application like this, with limiting gestures and kind of creating like things that they would find familiar in certain other types of application, like shadows and like things like that? Or in video games or anything that's 3D that you're viewing on a 2D screen, you need to give a lot of 3D cues so people know where things are and how far they are. And so there's like the perspective of the room that's like kind of a really obvious one. Yeah.
But a lot of times you need to use the floor as a way of saying how far something is. I actually don't have depth perception because I have like one prescription in one eye.
Yeah.
So
right.
I kind of actually it's I had to learn the problems people had.
Really?
Yeah, because like to me it like looks fine because I always use like cues to figure out how far something is, like how far it, like where it is on the floor, and
like visually.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like a lot of people are not used to using those cues because they can just see how far it is away by using two eyes. So I had to learn a lot of the issues that people had. So if you're designing a game and you want to like say it's really far away, and not just a really small object, you have to give some sort of cues to say that. And so I use reflections in this and shadows, and also lights. So when I get close to, if my hand gets close to it, it starts glowing blue.
Oh yeah, I noticed that one time when I was playing with it. And so it's just like how the glow will intensify. Like right there, it's really intense.
Yeah. So seeing my hand is glowing yellow.
Yeah.
Because I'm close to the yellow block, and that gives me some sort of I'm approaching the block. And there's also another thing is that when I approach the block, it changes color.
Uh-huh.
And that means I'm hovering over it and I can grab it. So it offers a way of saying, okay, now you're in a good spot to grab it. And so if people are like having trouble, it'll be like it'll change state when you get close enough to grab it. And when you do grab it, change state again. It's kind of like hovering over a button in a web browser.
Okay.
You hover over it, it kind of like it's like, okay, now I'm in hover state, and you click it, and it's another state. It's the same thing for this grabbing this block. Hover, it's like inactive, hovering, grabbing, and I let go.
Got it.
Yeah. So this is like you see this like I can. Do you have a question? I can.
No. So in this demo, putting the robots on the head seems easy enough. But what do you think most people would like building an application like this? What do most people have problems with?
I think making it simple enough for people to use. That was like a big struggle. We had these like really grand ideas that were like really complicated, and you really just want to make things really simple. Like the first thing I want to do is have people be able to pick a block and put it down. Now that's like the first thing I wanted someone to do, and then how to make that fun. You know, we were thinking about having little boxes, like a yellow platform you're supposed to be a yellow box on, but that just feels like a task. But like putting a head on a robot is kind of a fun thing to do.
And plus, it's just like even with the scope of just like visually looking at the pink one and the other ones, you can see the pink one's a little tinier, and there's like those visual cues like we were saying before.
Yeah, and you see that the light is like lighting up this corner over here. And so I'll put up one of these. This is my favorite block.
Can you stack the blocks?
Yeah, you can. It's it's a little difficult because there's no like tactile feedback, and that we use a lot of tactile feedback for.
So why did you pick these colors?
I just picked really bright primary colors. I guess some pink's not primary.
Neither is orange.
Okay, well, neither's green, I guess.
Yeah, neither's green. So you picked
I picked red. All right, thanks for calling me out publicly. All right.
I'm sorry. Continue. Okay, so you picked these colors because you like.
I kind of started with red. I started with just bright colors that people use that are really different, close to primary colors. It's primary and secondary colors that are far apart. Just because I wanted to try them out. And I like pink. I don't know. People don't use pink enough. And I don't know. Actually, when I made the blocks, or I made the emotions. So these I don't know if you've ever used it. These robots have emotions and they dance. And so the emotions that I chose for the final project or for the final release kind of matched up with these colors. So like this yellow one's really happy. So
he'll get up.
Yeah, he gets up by himself. Maybe.
He's a little too happy.
Yeah. So that's my favorite one. I just like.
Is it because he just dances?
He does so many different types of dances. Like, okay,
How did you program the dancing?
It's really simple. All he does is the body and the little sphere at the bottom are attached by a spring, and it just like shortens the spring and like lengthens the spring at a given tempo with the music.
Oh, kind of.
Yeah. So he dances with the music, and since you're shortening and lengthening the spring, it's very, very like bouncy. And so he'll do this. He'll do this kind of dance where his arms are swinging alternatingly, and right now his hands are stringing together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now they're all together. It's just like
that's so random.
Since the arms are on hinges, it makes for really weird patterns, and it makes him like actually dance around differently because it adds some chaos to his dancing. I kind of just really like his dancing style.
Do you mimic in real life? Is this like?
I wish I could. I wish.
Is this Frankenstein's monster? Is this your monster?
Yeah, I wish I could dance that well, man. I love that. A lot of girls.
So what do the other ones do?
Okay, so this pink one is a twirler.
So is this how is this yours? Where do you relate with this?
So I don't know. I don't know. People say it's a she, but it's. I think these robots are
Your
pretty
gender
special.
needed?
There's no gender. These are ungendered. I think the pink just represents the.
Passion.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you notice, it's like there's a really slight force that where it wants to go toward the other robot, so it slowly goes through the other robot.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of in love with the other one, but if I break the other one, then the hearts go away and then the blushing stops.
Oh,
It's kind of silly.
whoa. So that's interesting, though.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little thing, a little detail that most people don't notice that I like to point out.
Does she fall in love with just any robot?
Yeah, any robot, yeah. The closest robot.
And so this robot appears to be depressed?
Yeah, this robot's pretty sad. It just got the rain cloud.
Oh, and there's droplets.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can see that on the screen. Oh, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. I always put all the robots together. And this last robot's really dizzy, so he's got a fun dance.
And that lightning you did for the robots, like putting them on, was that a conscious decision, being like,
Oh yeah, that's let me break all these robots.
so it's just like interesting that it helps guide people. Is that
Yeah,
actually
it's because it's actually has a really large radius, and it's like actually magnetic. So if I bring it over here, the robot will come closer to the.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it offers a lot of. It's kind of a way of offering. It's kind of helping. It's kind of nudging people in the right direction, being like, oh, well, how do I do it? Oh, the lightning means I should put it right there in that little spot on his body, and the magnetic is just to help out with the actual.
So when you're not building
Process.
robots,
Yeah, how are we doing on time? I don't want to just talk about
no,
robots the entire time.
we're fine. So if you're not doing robots, like, what else are you building? Like, what else do you have to show us? Us being our audience.
Okay, let's talk about the next.
Do you like when people break the fourth wall? I can never tell if it's like a positive thing or not. Is it just like something that people find annoying? Like, like where I speak off camera, Matt's the worst. Okay, so in this, we have the phantom hand yet again.
Yeah, there's the phantom hand again. It's being like, oh, you should touch the flower.
Okay. It seems like drastically different from anything else.
Yeah, this one, I don't know. I wanted to make something nice. I wanted to make
What does
something.
that
I wanted to
mean?
make something beautiful. I really am influenced by this.
Are you the pink robot? Was that a lie? Are you truly the pink robot?
I guess I'm really the pink robot. I wanted to fall in love with something.
Wait, that's so tender. I love that. Wait, keep going.
Okay, so I'm really influenced by this one developer. At least for what they do for Leap Motion. Eddie Lee. He does. He did Kyoto and Lotus.
Oh.
Some other.
And also Collider.
Yeah, and Collider too. Yeah, also really cool.
Eddie Lee is going to be on our Twitch channel next week. Plug.
Unintentional.
Unintentional plug.
Yeah.
So, okay, you like Eddie's stuff because people haven't checked it out. Like, why would you describe it as?
Okay, so his app Kyoto, I guess, is one of the first Leap Motion apps that I ever used, and it was just really beautiful. I just really liked.
Yeah, Kyoto is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's just really serene and makes me feel really good. So
it's an idea of an application without an objective too.
Yeah, there is a whole process of the experience.
But you guys gotta check it out. Download it in our app store. It's free. You guys should check it out if you have a chance.
It's definitely if you want to beat something, it's probably not for you. But if you want to have a really awesome experience and like, explore and like try things out, it's very an explorative experience.
Do you feel like as games are like developing in the indie like game developer is becoming more of a mainstream developer, or like for big companies, that games are not necessarily like focusing on end results and points and scores? They're mostly just focusing on like what you take away from it, like almost like what you gained from it, like learning and like kind of like experiencing.
Yeah, it's definitely breaking the there's a lot of developers leaning away from like the points and the. I mean, a lot of people would know way more about the indie game scene than I do. But I see a lot of developers producing things that are very that focus on like an experience and not like collecting things or winning things, or it's not about beating it. It's about kind of experiencing.
So with this, would you say that this is what you wanted to do with like Hunt of Flower?
Yeah, there's really no point to this scene.
That's what it's called, right? Flower.
Yeah, I guess looking at flower, night flower or something. Yeah, flower is fine. There's no real point to the scene. It's just to you can make it whatever you want. So a lot of people are like, oh, she loves me not. She loves me not.
Oh my gosh.
She loves me.
Oh no.
She loves me not.
Oh.
She loves me. So it's like people make it whatever they want. It's kind of.
Oh wait. So there's another. What's going on there?
Oh yeah. So most people don't notice this when they're actually using it, but the petals when they hit the flower, the water, they turn into little fishies.
Fishies.
Yeah, because I made this scene and I was just picking apart this flower, and people at the end just had a bunch of petals in the flower, and they were just like, oh, I killed this beautiful flower. And they were like, oh, what do I do with the flower? And they were scooping up the petals. And
well, it seems like right here. So okay, it regrew.
Yeah, so I added a lot of things to make it so you didn't just destroy the flower and that was it. I added the turning into fishes, so that you don't feel like you're destroying something. You feel like you're creating something.
Or changing it almost.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the hand of man.
Exactly.
It's really deep.
Whoa.
So with this, so not having an objective and kind of experiencing, and we went through all the stages. It seems like you would get a very good idea of what the controller can do, and also kind of inspire developers to build in like this certain way.
Yeah, it's
without having to hit them over the head with it.
Yeah,
it's interesting. So with this so why the background and everything, and just because it's the last scene, it's just like so different.
Well, I was making a lot of things that were in a room because of the range of the device, and so I wanted to make something a little more open.
Okay.
And so I did run into issues where things would like float out of reach.
Okay.
But what I added was this. So if I pick this flower and I put it over here,
so when they become fish, they swim back.
Yeah, the fish swim back. So that's like one thing. But if you pick the entire petal, it actually just pick the entire flower and move it over there. It actually floats away slowly, and so you don't feel like it's a messy scene because it slowly clears the scene for you. It's kind of like something I added at the end to like make it so people weren't trying to always reach for this flower that was out of reach. That the next one grew, and then you could play with that,
And another conscious decision of the idea of like a disappearing floor too.
Yeah, exactly. There's no floor; it's just water.
That's interesting.
I really wanted to add some splashes, but I didn't.
Well, they said that Unity. I mean, I think we went to that Unity meetup where we were talking to the CTO about kind of the idea of like Unity 5 is going to be better on water effects, and this is built like before.
This is Unity 4, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you can update it, and you can actually build with more splash effects.
That would be pretty interesting. Yeah. Try that out. I could talk about some of the details in this one. There's I don't know if you how actually are we doing on time?
I mean, we could talk a little bit on detail.
Okay.
How about you say details and then I won't interrupt you.
Okay, so there's the same things as before as where I'm grabbing the petals and they glow when I'm grabbing them. But there's also this since this petal's a different shape than the blocks from before. It kind of inspired a different type of grabbing, and the fact that when you grab a petal, you don't grab it. You grab it, and the flat part is in between your hands.
Yep.
Right? And so there's a different type of if you're grabbing a flat object, you actually kind of deal. It should fit in your hands in a kind of a natural way. It shouldn't the pedal shouldn't be going through your fingers. It should be flat against your fingers. And so I added this type of grabbing that would move the flat part so it looked like you're actually
holding it.
Yeah. And I spent a lot of time like with this floating.
How did one use this? Where did the floating come from?
The floating was like.
And there's the shadow again. I can see like you have a theme happening.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. Would you say that a lot of your stuff carries the same kind of themes you did with orientation?
Yeah.
Just like building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially 3D things definitely. It's just. I kind of build off of everything I've used before.
Well, it's what you learned, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I don't know if there's anything else that any other details in this one.
So with that, and me giving you a good segue, so with orientation, I guess it's like, so you've orientated us. That was good. Yeah, we're gonna cut that. What else have you been building, like outside of like kind of more of like a presentation? Like this felt like a presentation. So have you done like some crazier experiments?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you are the sound guy, and I mean, we haven't been playing the sound. I should play this a little bit.
Oh yeah, this is also it's made by Jack.
And you can kind of see that sound is very important to applications like this.
Yeah. And so when you pick a pedal, there's a little piano thing. It's really nice.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's try play one of your sound.
Okay, yeah. So let's let me transition into, because I definitely focus a lot on synthesis. So let's see. Okay, there's two. I can play two. One of these is really nice to listen to, and one of them is like kind of harsh. I'll play the harsh one if you guys are.
I mean, I think we're into harsh, right, guys?
All right. So this one's gonna sound okay. The initial sound is really.
And then we have our sound person out there. If it's too loud, Kate, let us know.
I should probably turn up a little bit. All right.
So what's happening here? So we have that.
I'll just play around with it for a little bit.
Whoa. Oh wow.
All right. So. All right. Let me describe what this is. And draw so like it's not very distracting. Okay, so so this is a really simple synthesizer that offers some type of expression to control it.
Also built in Unity, right?
Yeah, this is also built in Unity, and it's communicating with this synth engine I wrote in a plugin format. This is before Unity 5, so it was like I had to kind of hack together a way to produce sound in a plugin. Yeah, and it sort of crashes a fair amount, but
oh really?
I wouldn't release it as a full featured app, but maybe with Unity 5, definitely, because they allow a much better sound plugin format.
So what are we looking at?
Okay, so basically there's a short loop of audio, and I can control the 3 different parameters by bringing my thumb close to my finger, and so when I bring it close to my finger, I start drawing. And so and then it loops over. So I erase wherever I was in the loop, and then so if I do like that.
Whoa. So is that triggering? So how do you trigger? So hold on, let me try.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So.
And then I love the fact that it's 3D.
Yeah. So you trigger it by bringing your thumb close to your hand, like the rest of your hand, and then it draws this thing in 3D, so I can kind of move this around. So
whoa!
we are in 3D.
That's cool.
And so what this kind of offers is a 3D interface to control a synthesizer. So it's not XY bed; it's really an XYZ bed. And so a lot of people ask me like, oh, why would you need that extra dimension of control when you can just have XY? Maybe it's like a little too much to control. But the extra dimension offers a lot of. I could talk about this app idea that I have that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
I mean,
we have a question or a comment from the audience.
So let's see. Okay, I will read it aloud.
I have a question.
It's
All right.
a comment. You can
Okay, comment.
Sound creation is great.
Comment.
and has been used in many remix, hot hands, etc. But I'm interested in virtual mixing boards and positioning of sounds with Dolby Atmos, etc. Matt, can you speak to this? Or tools like it?
Wait, okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about placing like speakers and maybe and sound sources in 3D and maybe audio listeners in 3D. Is that I've definitely heard that as one of a really good application that could possibly happen. I know that a lot of, especially people doing movies, positioning things in 3D is like kind of annoying. You have to do each dimension separately, and it's hard to visualize where it is. But if you had it like where you just drag and drop these things in 3D with Leap Motion, it might be a really good. God, this flashing all over the place. It might be a really good application for it. That's like.
Is there any tools or anything that you've seen out there?
Nothing that I've seen made. I guess it'd be cool to make something. This is all potential, but you can make something in Unity to position things in the editor. I would have to. As far as making a tool for specific pieces of software, you'd have to like do it on a case by case basis because a lot of these aren't widely used. It's not as widely used as like you could say Unity or something like that. So we would have to. Yeah, we'd have to look at certain cases and what people are using.
Do you feel like sonic exploration is something that people aren't quite developing with yet? It's not hot like people aren't developing like VR and sonic exploration. I can't think of really many examples of that. Mm-hmm. Do you want to speak to that?
I guess I'm in the audio world, so it seems like there's a lot of it to me. But as far as like the majority, I think you're right that it's very focused on like sights more than sounds. Like people really, headphones have been around for a long time, but the analog of headphones is really like Oculus or
True.
But that hasn't been around for very long. People are really excited about it. I wonder if people were as excited about the headphones as they were Oculus.
Well, luckily we have our segment called Time Travel. Let's visit that place. No, I'm just kidding.
But there's like a fair amount of audio stuff going on. Like there's a lot of people who are into doing like binaural recordings.
What are those?
I think I'm using the term correctly, but okay, you can distract me while I'm talking. There's people like bring out like heads, like model heads, and put microphones in each of their ears.
Whoa!
And so they get the actual kind of how your head affects the sound.
Okay.
And then they go outside and record things, and you listen to it later on headphones, and it sounds like you're there. And a lot of people don't really notice that it sounds like you're there, but people who are really in tune with their sense of sound, then it feels really intimate.
For like sound design, like especially since you showed this demo and you have others as well. What tips can you give people? Because you gave a lot of tips about kind of just developing an application, but maybe just to like sound people. Yeah.
So I guess what kind of drove me with a lot of this sound development stuff was expression, because since a lot of synths out there aren't very expressive. You twist knobs, and the knobs control one dimension. And if you're having if you're like controlling with MIDI, then you only have 128 positions for each knob. So it's like very. If you're trying to twist the knob really slowly, it doesn't sound that good. So I wanted to add some sort of freedom of expression, or some sort of like way to do some really, really slow crescendos and like things like that into a synthesizer. And I think Leap Motion will offer like some really cool ways of doing that. There's this app idea that I had where you draw in 3D like this, and then it warps it spins maybe it spins the entire thing or flips the entire thing, and so each dimension is controlling one parameter of your sound, and then as you spin it, the X dimension starts controlling, changing the Z dimension effect. So like something that's controlling the cutoff slowly warps into something that's controlling the resonance, and it would offer some like really weird warping abilities of sound.
So this application is just an idea, or have you done something like this?
This is as far as I've taken this idea, because the
limitations of Unity at the time.
You could probably take it. It was just a time limitation for me. I was working on a bunch of other things that just kind of took priority.
Do you have any more like sound demos?
Yeah, definitely. There's this one that I made for Music Hack Day that's really fun.
Mark your calendars.
Yeah,
coming up next month.
Yes, Music Hack Day is really great.
It's the best.
Yeah, I made this music visualizer. I'll play with it and then I'll like describe kind of the ideas behind it and what I'd like to do with it.
This is one of my favorite demos. Also, I wish I could show this more.
I don't know if you can hear the sound. It starts off kind of slow.
It's okay. Whoa. And so this is built in C++ though, right?
Yeah, this is using Cinder, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Cinder and C++.
Yeah.
Cinder is a C++ kind of like an art framework for designing weird stuff like this.
So, and this is done in 24 hours, right? You built this almost?
Yeah, this was pretty much 24 hours.
Can you do two hands?
Yeah.
So when do we get sued by using copyrighted songs?
This is a copyrighted song. This is a Creative Commons song. I guess I would have to do this. Should probably do the.
And so,
I can't
utilizing a pinch gesture, right?
Yeah. So the way this works, I'll look at the artist and I'll mention the artist later because it's Creative Commons, so I'd have to attribute them. But the way this works is it creates little gravitational fields whenever you pinch, and so when I'm over here and I pinch, and then the things that are really close get attracted really a lot, and then things that are far away are attracted less.
It also seems like the sound is also manipulating kind of the vibration or the pulsating.
Yeah, so the colors are changing based off of the bass and the treble currently.
Cool.
Yeah, so this one is this one I think would be a really great like backdrop for a band, or like at least maybe part of their set, for a small part of it, and it'd probably make the hands invisible, or maybe like visible on your computer but not visible on the screen.
Can you do that?
Yeah, definitely. I would just not draw the hands, and then
and that would be in the code, right?
Yeah, you do that in the code, and then when someone's up on stage, you just see this cloth that's like warping in weird ways, and the band, you don't really this kind of shows you what's happening, but when you hide the hands, it's kind of like it would be kind of magical.
So with this and kind of like the gravity, is it the strength of this? So even if I make little motions, I can do big gestures. Yeah,
the harder you the stronger your pinches, or the closer your fingers are together, the stronger the gravity is.
Okay.
So I'm doing really lightly out here. You can kind of slow.
Yeah, you can
pinch really hard, then everything comes in.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's that app, and there's a little. I wrote this. The main part of this app was writing this cloth simulation, which was kind of difficult. I've never really done that
and
before.
Then kind of the fragments, you can see in it. Sorry, you can see those little lines that are coming up and down of kind of.
Oh yeah, because I use this additive shader that's so if the cloth is overlapping itself, it just makes it brighter. So it adds the colors together, and so it kind of it gives it some depth.
So with this and kind of exploring with this, what else have you been building similar? Because there's new stuff that I haven't even seen, right?
Oh,
Are you there yet?
Are you talking about?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about. Let me just see if I can read this.
So I can just go over some other things I'm working on. I'll do one more Leap Motion thing, and then I'll show you what I was working on outside of Leap Motion. So this is a really goofy one. I really like this one. This is like.
Wow! I forgot about this one.
This is a kaleidoscope of hands.
And you use different skin tones now.
Yeah.
Because that was different.
Yeah, that's something I could not. People wanted skin tones and did it really badly, so we wanted to do it for people, but the problem with skin tones is you can't just like offer white male hands to everybody, because that's racist and.
I love this. I love this star. This is great.
Yeah, so we offer we don't. They're not men and women hands. They're I would say masculine or feminine. We just call them salt. They're.
Oh, you do fists.
Okay, but we offer a few different skin tones. I know it's not like fully comprehensive skin tones, but you can modify them any which way you want it to fill in the ones in between.
So why'd you build this one?
Or if there's not one spectrum. When did I build this one?
So where did this come from? Like, where in your head?
Well, I just wanted the Unity assets to be out there, and I wanted to show all of the hands in one, all the skin tones that we had, because, people are going to want to use different skin tones. And so I just put them all in one scene, and I was like, oh, it's kind of nice that they're in this like little radial.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to like kind of have like showcase like the different colors, and also just the fact that you can in your application can build mirrored hands. Yeah,
and it offers like this really weird way of interacting with things. I mean, you could do things like make a bowl with your hand, like a bunch of hands.
Whoa.
Or like make like weird.
Ew, no.
You can just do like.
Can you do it again? That was so gross. Ah! Look how gross that is. It's like an anemone.
Let's see if I can. So this offers like a lot of weird stuff that you can do, and maybe you can make a game that's like just a bunch of weird hands like interacting in different ways. I don't know.
Totally. And so that was the last Leap Motion thing. So what are we working on in the future?
Yeah. So
Tell me about the now.
Okay, I'll show you a weird one. I kind of did this retro thing.
So I see a lot of code.
Yes. So I write synthesizers. So I
Spoilers.
made this. Yes. Okay. So this is a synthesizer, but it's kind of gimmicky. It runs in the terminal.
Okay.
If you guys are programmers and use the terminal on Linux or Mac, you can download this and build it. And
is that using like kind of like WebGL stuff, or wait?
No. It's just text. It's purely ASCII. You could run this on a no GUI system.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you're just running a text-based operating system, you could run this synthesizer.
So I just have to put in the code in the terminal.
Yeah,
I have to have the file.
You have to build
file system.
Right now, yeah. So it's not distributed in Debian or anything right now, or Ubuntu, or in any of their repositories. But soon it'll be out there. Hopefully it'll get into like Arch and Ubuntu and Debian sometime. But you can build it now. It's called Cursynth, C-U-R, synth. And if you just search that, you can find
I think we have a link for that we'll put in the hip chat room.
Yeah.
Or the chat room, sorry.
It's a GNU project, so it's free. It's free software.
The GitHub link?
Or if you just type Cursynth and pull up the GNU webpage, that'd be a good one.
Also, it's on your web.
GNU project free software.
Yeah, that one.
It's also on your webpage, right?
It's also on my webpage, which is
I'll link it.
Okay, it's Tytel.org.
You just wanted to say it, just in case.
Tytel.
So what am I looking? What is this? What am I looking at this?
Okay, so this is a really goofy interface to a synthesizer.
Okay.
It's just text, and all the sliders are made in text. It's all ASCII.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really see the logo. Maybe if you can highlight it, you can see it. CUR synth and Cursynth up in the top.
Okay.
You can see it on my screen, but you can't really see it in the projector. And then you can like cycle through these. So first you can play it like not with lead motion. It's not a lead motion thing, but you can play it with your computer keyboard. Yeah. Turn off the sound.
hitting the middle key.
So there's like a little keyboard here. A through L is like the white keys, and then if you do W, E, T, Y, U, O, P, that's the black keys.
So you made a keyboard. Wow.
Yeah, so there's like a little and it's also MIDI enabled, so you can plug in a whatever keyboard you want into your computer, and if it's MIDI enabled, this will pick up on it, and you can play it. You can play that. And it's also MIDI learn enabled, so you can like have knobs control these different parameters.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So then, building this and like for the community, were you hoping that people would just develop off of it?
People have developed off of it, which is really nice. But I just kind of wanted to. I kind of wanted to just make a nice. I don't know. I was just making a synthesizer, and I was testing it by making sliders in the terminal. Okay. And then I was just like, I kept adding sliders and adding every parameter, and I just had a huge list of sliders, and I was like, oh wait, I have a synthesizer. And so like I just added a little patch loader, so I just loaded up a new patch.
Whoa.
So it's like this one sounds different. It's polyphonic, so you can have multiple voices. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
I think they can. Whoa.
Yeah, so I like that one. It's kind of a
Whoa, it's creepy.
You know, if you're playing just random notes, then that might be creepy.
I'm sorry, he's right. If you're playing random notes, music will be creepy.
Okay, and I'll just show the last one. The last one I'm working on is actually called Twitch, which is kind of funny. With the Y.
Sue him.
It's with a Y. I'm not sure if it'll be called.
No, it's not.
It probably won't be called that when I release it, but it's still a really work in progress.
Whoa!
I don't know if you guys can
Someone's
see.
in purple.
Yeah, it's very purple. Can't really zoom in or anything.
Professor Plum, what's going on?
So this one's just a synthesizer.
So this is...
So it's like similar.
But this seems like it's more like kind of like similar to what I would look at as a normal synthesizer.
Yeah, so this one's actually has a graphical interface.
Graphical interface, got it. So do you find in building synthesizers that's an important component, or do you feel not so much?
Well, you want to target the right people, right? So the ASCII synth, it was not targeted toward most synth users. It was targeted towards programmer geeks that also happen to use synthesizers. So that was my target for that.
Programmer geeks.
Yeah, people who program the terminal, who also like synthesizers. There's like
all you out there, we hear you.
there's a scene out there that people really like ASCII, things that run in the terminal. Like there's a media player that runs in the terminal. I can't remember what it's called, but
a media player?
Yeah, like iTunes, but it runs in your terminal.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. And this is like I'm not as familiar with terminal, I guess.
It's just a bunch of people who really like text-based.
And so with this, like building this, you felt like it was just like, here's something for most people.
Yeah, exactly. This is a little more accessible. And the goal for this one is maximizing interactive screen space. Okay. Okay. Let me say what I mean, and not mean what I say. So everything on
philosophy.
Here, yeah, I want everything on here to be touchable and interactable. Like, basically, I want you to interact with everything on the screen. So a lot of synthesizers just show you like a waveform, and you click on it and nothing happens. It's like it just shows you what's happening, and it shows you like the little envelope, and you can't actually touch the envelope. You have to twist these knobs to modify it. So I offer these not the same knob interface, but I also have it so you can modify it on the actual display. And so everything on here you should be able to touch. So the step sequencer you can touch. I still need to add some more interesting touching to the oscillators, but this filter you can touch.
And so what does it change? Can we hear?
Oh yeah, so what did I just change? Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is a cutoff.
That's cool.
This is like a filter.
So maybe like a stupid question.
Yeah.
When dealing with a 2D interface like this,
Yeah.
do you find it's more challenging than a 3D interface? Because it seems like you built both. So it's
Oh, well, 2D is easier because there's more development done in 2D. So you can just pull from a lot of people's ideas.
Oh, I see.
A lot of people's ideas. And so a lot of this stuff is like pretty standard. Like this envelope display is pretty standard. This cutoff display is pretty standard. So you have the frequencies and the X, and then the response, like how much it's boosting the frequency and the Y.
Yeah.
This XY pad, oscillator, viewing the waveform. It's all very standard.
And this one still isn't available.
No, this one's still in development.
Okay.
Because it's still needs some work. It's kind of ugly, but it's got some nice things. I kind of like this filter cutoff. A little butt. It's like doing a little dance, right?
Wait, can you say that again? Say that again.
Okay. Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything.
Well, so we're hitting our point.
Yes.
We're at the hour. Do we have any questions?
No, just interesting chatter. We have a cellist in the audience, so we can chat.
Hey, cool.
Nice.
Shout out to the cello!
Shout out to the cello. Thanks for listening. So I guess, Matt, last question is kind of like, what are you hoping to explore next, and like where do you see like kind of like sound interface taking you and in general?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I guess this synth is really, the synth I'm working on right now it's really basic, or it's using a lot of already established interfaces to controlling synthesis. But I'm at that point where I want to add some interesting ways of controlling the synthesizer, and so I'm going to add some I'm experimenting a bunch with I'm using like a little touch screen to control maybe the format filter, so it sounds like a voice will be speaking or something.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add these new ways of controlling sound.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm really focusing on next.
It's just so interesting to see how you're you manipulate, I think you hit it really well when it's you're manipulating the sound waves, and where people, as we deal with actual instrument and actually deal with plucking or kind of just manipulating something to create that sound, you're just manipulating actual sound particles and things. It's interesting because it's just a new way to really look at music and sound.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thanks guys for listening. We're here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. PST. Twitch Tuesdays. Up next week we have Eddie Lee, a developer that Matt talked about a little bit, and he's going to
check that out.
Yeah,
he also speaks better than I do, so.
So bar set higher, just so you know. And at the same time, we'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Be sure to reach out to us at developers at Leap Motion and give us any feedback of what you want to see in the future. We always love to get ideas from our developer community. And thank you so much. Bye.